Hey professionals, if you support people and you want them to feel empowered, then stick around because in this video I want to explain why we've got a language around empowerment all wrong. I'm going to explain why we can't actually empower other people, and I mean that. I'm going to explain why people thinking you can empower them is paradoxically disempowering, and I'm going to talk about what we can do to assist people to access their power and, more importantly, channel it. Now, my name's Steve and I coach professional people just like you to combine personal brilliance with inner peace for a happier and stress-free professional life. Now, first, let's get clear about what kind of empowerment we're talking about, because there are broadly two types. There's empowerment as in delegating authority to somebody, for example, delegating authority to spend company money up to certain designated spending limits. And there's empowerment as in people feeling their own internal personal power. That's a phrase you'll be familiar with if you've read any Tony Robbins books or been to any Tony Robbins seminars, because he talks about personal power a lot. Now, that kind of personal power isn't about delegated authority. That's about accessing the power that resides in all of us to make a difference in our lives and in the lives of other people. And I want to be clear that in this video, it's that second type of empowerment I'm talking about. You see, I've got no problem with the idea that in an organization where authority is delegated, I've got no problem with the idea that that can be given to somebody, that somebody can be empowered with authority in an organization. But when it comes to giving people their personal power, that's something else. And the reason for that is simple. I cannot empower you because your power doesn't come from me. It never did. And if either of us really believed that your power was bestowed on you by me, then we'd be setting up a problematic relationship. And in fact, when somebody believes that it's somebody else who is giving them their personal power, then that is paradoxically disempowering. Because if their personal power really was coming from somebody else, then it's not coming from within them. And that is the very definition of being disempowered. It's really important that we don't get confused about the source of our personal power. It's always us. It's never another person. You cannot give somebody their personal power. So why do we say things like, I empower people? Well, honestly, it's probably because it's simply become a figure of speech. I don't think people who say those words actually mean to imply that I possess your personal power and I'm going to give it to you. I don't think they mean that. It's just that the words taken as they are imply that, and words are powerful because words shape how we unconsciously model how things work in the world. And that's why I would urge you to shift the language from I empower people to what I think we really mean, which is I assist people in accessing the power they already possess, to access it and to channel it. And make no mistake, because it is about both accessing and channeling. Because accessing power without channeling power is a little bit like igniting a supercar engine, but just leaving it revving in neutral. That alone isn't going to get you anywhere. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, do give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the notifications bell so that you'll get notified when more content like this arrives. So how do we access our power? And by the way, notice that I keep saying access, not create. This personal power doesn't need to be created. It always already resides in all of us. What varies is our access to it in the moment. And that can be shaped by things like our mood, like our energy levels, and our current levels of self-belief. Now, there are lots of ways that we can access our power and assist people in accessing theirs. And I'm going to highlight a few of them here. One is to create and watch what I would call a life highlights reel. Think about sports. Think about a sports coach, a football coach perhaps, and you really want to fill your team with a sense of what they can do. So what you might do is you might go to the video archives and you might get that team's best games, and you might then snip out of those best games the best moments of those games, and you stitch them together in a highlights reel, and you play it on a loop in the changing rooms and in the bar so people keep seeing what it is they're capable of. Now that's going to energize people and remind people what they're capable of. And so a life highlights reel is a bit like that. Now, not necessarily a literal video. I don't expect you're going to have whole loads of video stacked up that you can access. I'm talking about this as a mental process to go through and actually remind yourself of the greatest achievements you've had, the things that you're proud of, any adversities that you overcame, and stitch the best moments of those, the winning moments of those, into your life highlights reel and repeat watch it. And if you're struggling to think of things to put in your highlights reel, then use your friends, use your family, use your co-workers and ask them, please remind me what I've done that's great in my life. Because sometimes we don't see ourselves straight. I mean, I did this once. I actually spoke to a number of people that I'd worked with and for, and I asked them to tell me what they thought my strengths were. And I have to say, I was really surprised at the things that I was hearing, because I kind of knew them, but I'd forgot to think of them as special, because somehow we don't seem to see our own achievements as special as other people see them. So it's sometimes useful to get that outside perspective. Another way to tune into our personal power, if you want to call it in those words, is to also look at inspiring people in the world, maybe inspiring people in your own life, or inspiring people in history. People like Viktor Frankl, people like Anne Frank, people like Gandhi, people who themselves dealt with great adversity or had great achievements. And the reason it's useful to look at other people, because you might be asking, why would I look at the achievements of another person to access my personal power? And the reason is this, because it's the same power that resides in all of us. They simply showed us how they accessed it and how they channeled it. And that can be an inspiration to us. They can be the reminder of how great humanity can be. By the way, one thing that gets in the way of us accessing our personal power is a lack of self-care. And if you want any assistance in that area, then this video up here will help. Now, what about channeling or directing our personal power? Well, I've got a 3-step process for that. Step 1 is to decide what you want to channel it into, what you want to direct your personal power at. Now, sometimes that's going to be as grand as, I want to build a school in a country where children are in poverty. And sometimes it's going to be something as simple as, today I'm going to get my tax return done. Step 2 is to mentally rehearse you applying your personal power. This is another thing that sports people do. They mentally rehearse. They mentally rehearse the run-up to their sporting event. They mentally rehearse their performance in the sporting event. They mentally rehearse accessing their greatest resources, taking their best shots. And they mentally rehearse going through the win and the celebration. And there's something about that which directs our mind and lines up the resources that we're going to be using. And step 3 is to take the first action and to take it with energy and enthusiasm. Because when you set your direction and you've mentally rehearsed and you take the first action, the other actions will follow. Now, another thing that gets in the way of us accessing and channeling our power is overthinking. So to take your skills in this area to another level, then watch this playlist here. It's a short playlist which talks about how we can deal with various forms of overthinking. Or if you've already watched that video, then watch this one here instead. This is Steve, wishing you health and happiness.